There's another copy of any of the building materials.
Yes. Thank you.
He doesn't want to take it, so
I
I
think-
say we just ignore it. It is running.
We're live right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Coventry Technical Review Committee. It is Monday, July 14th, 2025, and the time is 1:36. We will go through today's agenda. First item is a call to order and a determination of a quorum. I do see that a quorum of the TRC is present. Next is emergency evacuation plan. We're all heading out that door, right out the building. The next is the approval of minutes. This is the only item in which we take any motions of the TRC. I know that the minutes are available. If there's any questions, let me know. If not, I'll hear a motion to approve the June 16th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Are you serving as a TRC member right now? No.
No,
I'll hear a motion from one of, Dennis is serving as just taking notes and observing
I'll
right
make a
now.
motion.
All right, motion from Chief Katie to approve the minutes as is. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Second from Engineer Levesque. All in favor of approving the minutes as shown, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the motion passes. Minutes are approved. Next item of business will be for comments and discussion of item 4.1 Coventry self-storage. This is for comments to the Planning Commission. Very briefly, this is a preliminary plan, major land development with associated dimensional variances at the address of 1920 Nooseneck Hill. There's an existing self-storage facility there. They're looking to expand on that with a new large 3-story building. Why don't we go around the table for comments on the Coventry self-storage? Chief Katie, do you mind leading us off?
Sure. My comment for this project was that the water supply study will be required to confirm this adequate water flow to handle the fire protection for the proposed building. That's all I have for that one.
Sounds good. Engineer Levesque, do you have comments?
General comment, upon project completion, certificate of conformance, COC from the engineer of record shall be required. The COC shall certify that the constructed project meets the required standards, regulations, and specifications in permitting and construction documents. The COC shall be focused on site-related work. Work includes, but is not limited to, drainage system components, drainage related to retaining wall placement, earth grading, roadway subbase, pavement, concrete flat work, underground utilities, survey markers and monuments, and fire cisterns. EOR shall partner with a qualified subconsultant to perform necessary inspection-related duties if EOR does not perform these duties in-house. All coordination between EOR and inspection subconsultant shall be finalized before construction commences. Separate COC shall be required from the structural engineer of record and the geotechnical engineer of record as applicable. A certificate of occupancy will not be issued until COCs are received and accepted by the town. Comments on the plan, submission of a Town of Coventry soil load and sediment control application will be required. Additional information is requested regarding proposed drainage area DA6. An offline discussion with the stormwater designer is requested regarding the overland flow study point 3. OWTS permit, comment 1. Additional information regarding proposed restroom or restrooms is requested. Describe any differences from the restroom currently in use in the existing building, such as number of users, private/public operation, and hours of operation. And number 2, provide 6 months of water meter readings from an existing building that contain restroom to be decommissioned. End of comment.
Thank you, Engineer Levesque. Mr. Berardo, do you have comments on plans?
I have a few. Regarding the requested variances, planning staff is aware that the applicant is seeking dimensional relief from the required minimum number of loading spaces and for several building design elements established in the special planning overlay district regulations, namely flat roof lines, windowless facades in excess of 60 feet, the lack of customer service entrance, on the street facing side of the building, and evergreen tree buffering. Planning staff will provide analysis in its staff report to the planning commission. Planning staff also notes for the record that the applicant realized after submitting its dimensional variance application and mailing public notice to abutters that dimensional relief will also be required for the proposed wall-mounted sign. The applicant has submitted a letter clarifying that it understands relief will not be granted for that item through the Unified Development Review process at the July meeting, and will pursue said signage relief as a separate request through a future application. Regarding the requested waivers, the applicant seeks a reduction in the required minimum number of off-street parking spaces, as well as waivers from the sidewalk, street light, and curbing requirements of the subdivision regulations. The applicant has provided written justification for its waiver requests. The applicant is currently working with Kent County Water Authority to secure an updated water approval letter based on its preliminary plan design and intends to submit the letter once received. And lastly, the applicant confirmed via email that the height of the building as measured from the base to the tallest decorative parapet will not exceed the 35-foot height limit, meaning the building height will comply with town zoning requirements, and no variance is required for this item.
All right, and Chief Witt, do you have any comments on this matter?
Not in the matter at the time.
Thank you. Quick question before we move on. Joe, do you feel comfortable that the items in which you're looking for additional information, proposed drainage area, the restrooms, and the 6 months of water meetings, reader meetings, are these items that you would feel comfortable that we could condition to receive prior to final plan, or are there items that you want us to get before we make a preliminary plan decision?
Well, I'd like to square away the WTS portion of it, because if they have to get that permitted, it might extend after final plan, then they're ready to start right after final plan. So that's my only concern there.
And final plan is the time where we are able to condition and say, you need to give us the OWTS permit prior to, or with your final plan application. Do you feel pretty comfortable that if we gave them preliminary plan approval based on the design, that it's basically information to back what their design is? You don't see it as changing their design at all?
No, I don't.
So with that being said, you're pretty comfortable that those additional pieces of information we need, if there's conditions of approval to gather them as part of final plan, you have a chance to review as final plan, you're satisfied that you don't have a problem with this moving forward now?
No, I don't. I think we're good.
Okay, thanks, Joe. All right, that concludes our comments on that matter. Any other final thoughts or questions on the Coventry self-storage? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item of business. Feel free to join us at the table, as many seats as you can fit around the edge.
Yeah.
This is for item 4.2, Coventry Center. This is for comments to the Planning Commission. This is a master plan and major land development with associated zone change. The applicant is Star Capital LLC. This is the address. It is two lots. AP7 lots 23 and 24. They're zoned industrial currently. The street addresses are 666 Arnold Road and 2271 New London Turnpike. The applicant is proposing to develop a commercial project on lot 23 and a multifamily project on lot 24. The commercial project would include 48,000 square feet of commercial space with a mix of retail, restaurant, drive-through, and gas station convenience store uses. The multi-family project would include 218 units across 4 buildings, 18% of which would be deed restricted as affordable housing. This proposal includes a corresponding zone change application, which will be subject to a recommendation by the Planning Commission and ultimately decided by the Town Council. So that's enough background for now. The way we're going to do it is we're going to go around the table with the comments. You guys have just been provided with a copy of those same comments. There might be a few minor changes to them, but otherwise, we're going to read those for the record, and then there'll be an opportunity to have a little discussion back and forth. Chief Katie, do you mind reading this off again?
Yep, my comments are pretty much same as the last project. The water supply study will be required to confirm there's adequate water flow to handle the fire protection for the entire proposed complex.
Sounds good. Levesque.
Yeah, it's pretty much my general comment. It's the same as the last. Upon project completion, certificate of conformance from the engineer of record shall be required COC shall certify that the constructed project meets all required standards, regulations, specifications. In the permitting and construction documents, the COC shall be focused on site civil related work. Work includes, but is not limited to, drainage system components, drainage related to retaining wall placement, earth grading, roadway subbase, pavement, concrete flat work, underground utilities, survey markers, monuments, and fire systems. EOR shall partner with a qualified subconsultant to perform necessary inspection related duties if EOR does not perform these duties in-house. All coordination between EOR and inspection subconsultant shall be finalized before construction commences. Separate COCs shall be required from the structural engineer of record and the geotechnical engineer of record as applicable. Certificate of occupancy will not be issued until COCs are received and accepted by the town. Read comments on the plans. Number one, submission of a soil erosion sediment control application will be required. Two, the Coventry sewer connection application will be required for the proposed sewer connection. And three, stormwater management shall be provided for the site and meet state and town requirements. Parking assessment, I have a typo in here. Engineering takes no exception for the proposed multifamily residential parking reduction. And traffic study, consistent with the planning staff comments, the engineering department is anticipating updates to the existing traffic study prepared by VHB. Once a revised study is received, comments will be provided. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Berardo, the planning.
All right, buckle up, everyone. A few of them. Okay, this proposal relies upon a companion zone change ordinance, which proposes a slate of residential and commercial uses, as well as new dimensional standards, which are distinct from the existing dimensional and use regulations associated with the subject parcels. Current I-1 industrial zoning. The proposed ordinance has been written to allow for a degree of flexibility in how the applicant chooses to balance residential and commercial development in case market conditions favor some uses over others. This is primarily facilitated by gross floor area standards applying collectively to lots 23 and 24. A maximum of 120,000 square feet of non-residential gross floor area is allowed. For each residential unit, the maximum non-residential gross floor area is reduced by 200 square feet, and the number of residential units is capped at 600. It should be noted this immediate master plan application is seeking 218 housing units and 48,000 square feet of commercial space. Planning staff generally support the proposed dimensional and use regulations and feel that the subject parcel is better suited to host residential and commercial uses rather than industrial uses. Consistent with initial feedback from the town's contracted peer reviewer for traffic and parking issues, the applicant's traffic study should be revised to include all proposed developments in the region as part of their analysis of no-build conditions. Consistent with initial peer reviewer feedback, the applicant's traffic study should also be revised to incorporate a traffic safety study with crash data to understand whether any operational or geometric conditions may warrant design solutions. Following receipt of the revised traffic study, planning staff and the peer reviewer will provide more detailed comments regarding the overall traffic analysis, as well as the proposed roadway and intersection improvements that will be needed at the intersection of New London Turnpike and Arnold Road. Staff notes that the proposed widening of adjacent roadway segments near the intersection of New London and Arnold would likely be accommodated through transfer of property from the subject parcel to the public right-of-way. Planning staff anticipates the applicant, along with other developers in the immediate vicinity, will continue to coordinate with the town regarding off-site traffic improvements/mitigations. Planning staff agrees with the peer reviewer's suggestion to update the traffic study roughly 6 months after the Center of New England Boulevard connection is completed by conducting new traffic counts to confirm accuracy of the current study's post-connection traffic distribution estimates. The updated study can be provided with the preliminary plan submittal. Planning staff believes that promoting non-motorized means of transportation, pedestrian, bicycle, bus, through practical infrastructure improvements will be critical to minimizing motorized traffic impacts such as increased roadway congestion to the greatest extent possible. The applicant's traffic study proposes to install sidewalks along the full lengths of the subject parcel's Arnold Road, New London Turnpike frontages. The existing sidewalks in the area end 1,000 feet away from the subject parcel on Arnold Road, and post-construction of the Willow Lakes development will end 300 feet away from the subject parcel on New London Turnpike. Staff proposes the applicant truncate its proposed Arnold Road sidewalk about 350 feet before the end of the parcel's frontage, and instead complete the 300-foot gap in the New London Turnpike sidewalk network by building sidewalks in front of Assessor's Plat 16 lots 1 and 2 as an off-site improvement. The applicant shall coordinate with planning staff regarding logical crosswalk treatments near termini of future sidewalks on Arnold Road and New London Turnpike prior to submitting the preliminary plan application. Prior to submittal of the preliminary plan application, the applicant shall evaluate the feasibility of constructing the proposed sidewalks along the subject parcels, Arnold and New London frontages, as shared use paths to provide bicyclists a safer means of traveling through the busy Arnold New London intersection than sharing the roadway lanes. The applicant shall coordinate with planning staff prior to the submittal of the preliminary plan application to ensure the proposed internal pathways provide for sufficient intra and inter-parcel access for pedestrians and/or cyclists. The applicant shall coordinate with the town and RIPTA while developing its preliminary plan application to explore options for improving the existing RIPTA Route 23 northbound stop located at the corner of Arnold Road and Gay Street to promote public transit access to the subject parcel. Planning staff anticipates receiving architectural examples / visuals with the master plan application to inform the architectural standards proposed in the draft ordinance. Following submittal of same, staff will seek the planning commission's guidance as to whether the proposed architectural standards should apply to both lots 23 and 24, or only lot should be 23, I believe, as the more visible of the two, the one with frontage on both New London and Arnold. And lastly, a formal lighting plan and formal architectural renderings are anticipated to be submitted with the preliminary plan application.
Chief Witt, any
Yes.
comments from police?
Yes, sir. Consistent with the planning staff's comments, police will be waiting for revisions to the traffic study and a peer review of that traffic study prior to giving any more detailed comments on the matter.
Thank you. And then we do have comments from the DPW director. He was not able to attend, so I'll just read them for the record. Those were two comments. One is concrete sidewalk should extend northerly on New London Turnpike to include AP 16, so lot AP 16, lot 1 and 2, to complete the sidewalk connection on that side of the road of New London Turnpike. The second comment was extend the merge lane on Arnold Road further to the west as quote unquote road number 1 from the subject application will create an issue with entering and exiting traffic on Arnold Road at Gay Street. Those are all the comments that we have. After hanging any other feedback or comments from the TRC members at this time? All right, applicant, this is your opportunity to offer any questions, and in general, anything you need clarifications on as we head for the meeting next week.
So I'll just start with the zone change. You and I talked about this, the one that was forwarded to the town council had some errors in it.
Right.
So I'm gonna send Steve Angel a note.
Yep.
They're dimensional issues. One of them is, we didn't realize until after we proposed the height of 35 feet that, planning staff was recommending, roof lines, so to screen the apparatus,
Yep.
mechanicals.
Yep.
So we proposed to raise that to 40 feet.
And that was in your last draft.
Yes, the sent to Steve.
And you said 40 feet? And there was
It was a 5-foot
5
difference
foot.
from 35 to 40.
Still going to 40, and then.
I'm
wasn't-
sorry,
It's
65.
65.
Yeah,
It was 60
yeah.
to
And
65.
that was in the area where you were already seeking the height, the greater height for the.
Yes.
Largely for the multifamily.
Correct.
structures. Is there any change on the height to the commercial structures, or do you feel like 35
No.
covers you?
No, it was 40 and 6, that I was mixing up the
40.
two. So he kept the 40,
Yeah.
which was 35 to 40,
Got it,
but he didn't keep the 60 to 65. So
understood.
that has to be changed.
It's-
Then there were a couple of other minor use issues
Yeah,
that
yeah.
need to be changed, but I just wanted to put that on the record.
No, that's fine, and I think that, I have yet to be, I know Steve Angel, town solicitor, was out of town for a period of time. I was out of town all last week. I want to connect with him just to understand where we stand.
So should I send that to my
Yeah,
revisions to you?
I would say, you can send us an email. I know that, I anticipate speaking with Steve early this week. I'm looking to connect on those issues. I would say that my opinion is those issues are two that And there was, so it's the height issue. And then there were a couple of clarifying points that
Well,
you
one
had
was-
in the uses.
Well, there was one that said there shall be no flat roofs. And
That's right.
we should avoid flat roofs. But if we're going to use them, we're gonna use an architect, like a faux roof,
Yeah.
to screen the mechanicals.
So the truth is I haven't had a chance to overlap with Steve yet to
Yeah.
understand if those were purposeful or if those were some kind of carrying over changes and perhaps there were some errors as it carried forward changes into his format.
Yeah.
Let me speak with him and then you and I can speak after the fact to address and perhaps create a record in front of the planning commission for how that'll be addressed from the planning commission's recommendation on the matter.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, and I think it's a resend of the email, because I think I've already sent it to you once.
Understood.
Okay. I think we want to talk about traffic.
Yeah, let me, just start by, some of the assumptions we've made, are very conservative as far as, the future no-build traffic. We did, the census shows, a 0.3 annual, growth rate, and we used a 0.5. We've included seven projects, full build out of 7 projects. The build, condition, we used a low rise, trip generation, which is a higher trip generation than the mid rise. For the whole development plan, just to be conservative and shows additional traffic, just to make sure this works. As far as pass by for the shopping center, we've used 42% pass by when the average rate is 61, which would reduce the amount of new traffic. So we overestimated the traffic there. The gas station, that has a pass by rate of between 53 and 72%, and we used the lowest rate of those, which is 53. So we're very conservative on the traffic volumes that we've done. Like I said, we did full build out of seven projects. As far as the mitigation, we can get into that later. So I think the analysis that we've done so far is sufficient for a master plan, and we can address these other issues at the next, because we're going to have to come back in front of you for preliminary. So I think that what we've done at this point shows that we've addressed most of the issues, and sure, there are a couple other projects that I guess you want us to look at, and we don't have a problem doing that at the next stage, but I think the study that we've done up to this point is sufficient to for the master plan.
And aren't those other projects just proposals at this point, or, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
right, so
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of information
even-
on them.
and
I
even-
just want to be clear that it's not concrete developments that are going to get built.
And even
So-
the 7 projects that we've looked at, none of those projects went through the labors traffic study that we did, extensive with the 7. So ours was pretty extensive study.
Any other questions or comments on traffic? Because I'm happy to respond, but I don't know if that's everything you wanted to.
Well, real quick too, as far as, I think one of the comments was to extend on Arnold Road, that right turn lane. And I think
Alex, do you mind
we
sharing?
are proposing to extend it.
You are proposing to extend that to
Maybe
2
the
lanes
next-
before the merge.
the next-
Yeah, because they said to extend it past Gay Street,
One more.
but,
That one look right?
Yeah, that's. The comment was up at Road 1, right, Bob?
yeah, so Gay Street is the closest to, New London, and then.
K Street is down here, Grandview is up here.
Grandview, so we were gonna extend because they are correct that the current taper begins about where Gay Street is.
Yeah.
So we were planning on extending that second lane up to and becoming a right turn only into
Gotcha.
Road 1 at the top of the page there, so.
And then would there be a like almost a dedicated right-hand turn out of Road 1 and then taper into the merge there?
No, because that would, they wouldn't have enough time to accelerate and merge in. So it's
Okay.
better It's better having the two lanes there, because then you can tell if the person's taking it, because if you had one lane, you're not sure if the person, a lot of times they don't use their blinker.
Yeah.
So you're not sure if this guy's really turning in. So if he's in the right turn lane, you know that that car's taking a right in, and you'll be able to turn out of there easier.
Okay, I mean, I think that's what we're headed. We just want to make
Yeah,
sure,
no.
it's not clear to read from the plan there if there was a proposed
Right.
extension or a turn lane dedicated. Obviously, these are offsite improvements we're discussing, so, I think, what you're seeking to do seems to be in line with what our comment was. And then whether there should be any sort of widening or how it gets handled when you talk about what's, I think that's generally north.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this, we're at an angle here, but generally north, on Arnold, northwest on Arnold.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just want to make sure we've got the right treatment there, but we understand we're tapering to one lane there, so it's a matter of what's the best place to make that transition.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to give a comment on the overall kind of approach, that we have. I do think that the goal for this traffic study, as we set out, was always to give us a really concrete build out of the entire vicinity. And we know that this is a really dynamic time, for this particular region. The reason why we wanted this to become a really comprehensive and thorough analysis is because at this master plan stage, we are getting a zone change. I mean, we are bringing this to the town council. There is going to be a legislative act to allow this much growth. And in fact, what you guys have put on the page for master plan is not as intensive as would be allowed should the zone change proposal be allowed. So that's why we thought this was the moment. We want to make sure we've got the complete traffic analysis done. This is where we really wanted to button all traffic up and not allow prelim plan to become a stage where there would be significant changes or alterations to the traffic analysis. Largely it's because we think the town council is an audience that wants to be aware that we've done this. In many ways, where we're headed is it's trying to understand, we're certainly not looking for this project to do more than its fair share of off-site traffic improvements. But it's really hard to describe what is this project's fair share of off-site traffic improvements unless we feel as though we've got all of the other improvements. And between, I know some of the work we're talking about, Tim, is the other projects that you have on the number of other sites. We've been working on like a rough planning estimate of like 700 units. You may say that number is above, under, you don't know where they're going to land, but to some degree, we can't turn a blind eye to the idea that there will be another 700-ish units in this region. Some of that might point to how this intersection might operate, especially if you have lot 5. You know, depending on what you're putting there, that's going to come out onto Arnold. Some of your projects are going to probably impact other intersections. They're going to impact the center of New England Boulevard intersections more than others, but we don't quite know that. And so we do want to understand that we're heading to a place where we want to know that this project is making its fair share of improvements, and other projects are going to have to make their fair share of improvements as well. It's a dynamic time, but that's why we're putting the weight into wanting a really robust, complete traffic study at this stage. So I hope that that's clear. And that's why we do stand by the concept that we want to know we've got the full no build out or no build conditions, full build out of the area, part of this traffic study. So when we go to the council, we'll say this does what we set out to do.
Yeah, I think we've done that. I think that's what's on paper.
Yeah, and then the issue that was brought up is the center of New England connector road too, and the impacts that that's gonna have. And that's another conservative assumption we made, and we kind of underestimated the impacts of that too. So I think we've addressed kind of that issue, and it was a good point to look at things once that's constructed to see what actual impacts that did have and how much capacity that freed up, because that's gonna shift traffic around and reduce some of the traffic on New London. So.
I mean, I appreciate the conservative approach we've taken with certain things, but I'd say that the piece that isn't conservative is that through peer review of what you've submitted in a letter from Par Corporation dated July 7th, we've got generally a comment that we're missing several projects that would add up to in and around 1,000 housing. So it's hard.
Which one of those?
So we're working under a planning assumption that the other Center New England parcels that you have control of, Star Capital, is in and around 700 units. You might tell us that's an overestimate, you might tell us it's under. I mean, that's something that I know you're working on now.
I can tell you right now, it's actually 0. We do not have clear use and clear plans for any addition.
Well,
I
you
can tell you that,
do plan to bring more than 0 units. Well,
maybe, right, we have a long way to go before lot 8 and lot 5 come into production, and we'd rather do commercial, right? So I don't
on
know,
all the lots,
yeah, I mean,
all the other Center New England lots.
well, we're really only talking about 5, and that's really.
What about one?
We don't have one.
So
We have 2 through 8.
you have 2 through 8. One is the Highlands Farm.
Yeah.
Okay,
2,
so
3. Like
We have,
this.
we have 6 and 7, which are commercial, the plans for commercial.
those are the ones in front of Walmart?
Yeah.
So I mean, the idea is if you have plans for commercial, that's generally gonna increase your traffic. We had, without including commercial, because I know a lot of your focus in the conversations that we've had have been largely looking at housing units there.
Yeah.
And we had informal conversations that suggested a 700 units for all the other sites, everything in lot 5. So you've given us a plan for 2, 3, and 4. So you've got 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
If I'm hearing correctly, some of which are closer to Arnold Road, some of which are closer to Hopkinsville. If you have a different vision of that, then we want to understand that for the build out.
Yep.
In areas.
It's very much uncertain right now, and, 700 units is an estimate, is a number.
Yeah.
It will generate some traffic. So, I think it's still a good number to use, because it is long with a plan.
But that's what we're seeking. We're seeking for you to use that number, and our peer reviewer is seeking for you to use that number. The current traffic analysis doesn't use anyone, they're assuming 0. So I think, we understand that that's loose.
I thought we did, well,
What's that?
I thought we used that additional build out instead of, should we not using it?
You did this initial, but you're saying there's a 700 on top of that.
We did 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, they offered 2, 3, and 4, where you're sitting on the master plan approval for 712 units.
So he's adding another 7.
I'm looking to add your growth,
It's potential.
Yeah, we have, I mean, literally nothing right now.
but
Well, and those aren't gonna be in that fight, so those are definitely not gonna be built in the next 5 years.
Right.
So what are we going, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
I think
What's the end?
it's a dynamic time at Center New England in which we have a range of proposals all coming in at one time. And we're looking to understand how all of the transportation infrastructure in this area will respond to all of these. Now, if you have a different estimate, working in good faith for 700 units on 5, 6, 7, and 8, I'm willing to hear you out.
But you don't.
I
No.
think that's a good number.
Then that's the number we're seeking for you to
No,
build into
he's
this.
adding 700. What we're proposing is 700. He's adding another 700. You have no plans to build another 700 right now.
Well, we could say the zoning is in place, whether we do it or somebody else does it. We
Yeah.
could say the zoning is in place for that. We could say that about all.
But you also have DEM issues. You don't even know if you're gonna be able to
Well,
build on 5.
a lot of the developments have been in the center of New England, along Center of New England Boulevard, have been stated that Center of New England Boulevard was built to accommodate
All of it.
everything that's gonna be built, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just
no,
saying.
I don't think we're heading to a place where increasing the quote unquote no build conditions. Basically, we're heading to a place where we want to understand all of the growth and the traffic from the growth that is not related to this subject parcel and these.
For how
subject-
long out?
Well, we want to know the things that we have sight of right now.
But so you have sight of 712 units, which is gonna be decreased.
But we do have, I mean, we did pre-app this, in which there was an indication at a pre-app that we had about a year ago of certain approaches to development there. And so to some degree, we do have some sight that there's gonna be more than 0 growth on those lots. And so the request that we made several months ago was, we'd like for this project to incorporate the concept of those build conditions.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, largely it's coming from you, Tim. We've used 700 units as a barometer for lots 5, 6, 7, and 8. You've talked about commercial, we've talked about other things. Commercial changes it, it probably becomes more intensive than a residential. But here's my concept. It's largely not going to change the fact that there's a certain degree of a fair share approach this project will take. In fact, by showing build from other projects that aren't related to this immediate application, you're showing that there's a lot of improvements that will be needed that aren't tied to this project. And part of what we're trying to do is assume what's the fair share of this project to, we're not looking for you to fix all the intersections. That's not where we're headed. We're headed to a fair share approach. But imagine that fair share approach is hard to get to when we don't have all of the traffic in the region here. So the 700s is one. 700 is probably the most ill-defined that we have because it's reliant on a handful of lots that you own and control that we haven't received a master plan proposal. We've received an informal PRIA. We do know that there's another 300 units that this traffic study didn't include from West Greenwich that will impact some of these intersections. We do understand there'll be some other uses that will impact these intersections. I think what we're seeking is, it's not going to change what, that we're asking this project to fix all those intersections. It changes what's the fair share approach for this project versus others. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me and to us on an engineering level, but the fair share is not here at this study right now. In other words, the fair share of the study has not been equitably distributed amongst those projects.
Well, and then what's the mechanism that's gonna be used? Because you don't have a TIF in place, a tax increment, so.
Well, and that'll be our issue that we're not gonna tie this project to, but imagine that we've got a peer reviewer who's also reviewing the extent of the off-site mitigations at your buildings. And that's the extent of the off-site mitigations you're building, which are largely focused on the intersection of Arnold and London. Does that represent the fair share? The more you show traffic in other areas from other projects impacting other things, the more that actually changes that your fair share is different. However, if you anticipate a number of projects on Arnold Road or a number of units on Arnold Road, now that's lot 5. I understand that's hard to define. But if you were to tell me lot 5 is getting 0 units versus 300, you can imagine that might change how that intersection should be changed. And we want to understand that before you guys say, we're going to add a lane this way. We want to understand, we need to know the full build out and impacts on that intersection. Not saying that you owe us all of the improvements, but we want to understand, is what you're offering to do at Arnold Road in New London enough, assuming the full build out of the region? Does that make sense?
I think at what point, at what point are we gonna stop? Because everybody builds a hotel out there, everybody builds an office building, and who knows what's gonna happen? So we're into the unknown a little bit. And by the way, a big swing is gonna happen when that bridge opens and the traffic gets rerouted from the London Turnpike to Hopkins.
No, we understand. And I know
I
that
think that as part of where we're going here is to revisit the studies. That was always what we contemplated, the master plan. We were gonna revisit the traffic studies when the road is open, which it's not. So I think at this point, to theoretically study another 600 units there, 700 units there, it sends us, I think, around in circles a little bit. I think what we've done is adequate for a master plan, certainly, and it's preliminary plan. We're going to have an invited to happen.
And Bob can also speak to these questions about, well, if there's other development, we would have to revisit it because he can't design something that isn't proposed yet, right? I mean, you don't know what the impacts are gonna be.
the only challenge with all of this is that coming back at prelim with better data, the zone changes are already approved. The council is gonna wanna know, because I've essentially indicated to all parties that have knowledge of this, that this was the moment in time we were gonna get a robust, comprehensive traffic study that understood everything that was happening in the region to back a legislative action, which is a zone change, to allow what's going to happen here. And there are going to be conditions of approval for this project to make certain offsite improvements that the council is going to want to know represents this project's fair share. So the council is going to want to know, we understand traffic as well as we can at this point. And they're going to want to know that we're getting our fair share from this particular applicant. And that's part of what as I've set out to John Shevlin, and as you guys have seen, I've set out to John Shevlin, that's part of the peer review of the project as well. It's a fair share approach. So that's why, I think that there's a lot of good things about the project. And we do understand that you're asking what, how far do we go out? I mean, really, the other projects that we're asking to be added have received approvals. The 330 units that is on West Greenwich's side of Center of New England, they've received preliminary approval. So those units, which aren't included in this traffic study, have been added. The most ill-defined units we have, the lots where we know development's coming, but we don't have a great definition, are those owned by Star Capital. So if you were to give me something that you think is an alternative vision, then 700 units, which is, I can acknowledge is a rough planning estimate. It's certainly not, I think, appropriate to give us 0 as an estimate for all the other units you own. But if you think 700 residential units is a misestimate, if you're telling me you're heading to commercial, well, that would change that dynamic, greatly. So when this is in front of the town council and they ask, has this accommodated all the growth in the area? And I tell them, not this particular applicant's properties on their other properties. We know they're going to bring something, but we're estimating 0. I don't think the council is going to buy it. I don't know if my planning commission is going to buy it.
Okay, well, we already said 700 is fine. That's what's gonna go instead.
And I'm good with that. Adding 700 units to the build out of the study.
We shouldn't have to do this for right now. This is a preliminary plan.
Well, that's what I keep coming back to.
The preliminary plan says we gotta extend the lane this way or that way. And we have to pay our fair share. That's a preliminary. We're happy to do that preliminary plan. But for master plan, we've answered the questions, I think.
And even like lot 5, there will be a traffic study for lot 5 that will address whatever needs to be done relative to lot 5. Same with 6, 7, and 8. There will be future studies that will further, when it's actually a proposal, that you'll know what's going on, because I could tell you right now, and you've been working with Tim, it goes back and forth. It's whatever the market's liking. So we've gone from a full commercial site, now we've done half residential, half commercial. This is master plan. This could even change.
I understand that, but this is where you're also seeking the zone change.
No, I get it. I think
Zone
what I'm
change
looking
is
for.
why I think it needs to happen now.
No, I get that. We want to make the council feel comfortable, but I think Bob has to make them feel comfortable by explaining that this is when things happen. And I think John Shevlin would back him up on that, right? I mean, you've been talking to John.
Yeah, I
He's
think,
here.
I think, and then there's one other, I've talked about all these conservative assumptions we made. And like even some of the commercial developments, we didn't incorporate like a shared use trips, we didn't take a credit for that or the option. So I feel that our numbers are very conservative for the projects we included, which, sure, we're gonna add some projects, we could reduce the conservativeness in some of our assumptions too, and bring those down. So, that's a fluctuating thing too.
Maybe we have a mini TRC with just John or whoever else wants to come, Joe, just to get on the same page before next week, because we want to go for our master plan application, but we want to make sure everybody, I think Bob feels confident that he's done enough, and I think John agrees. So
Well, I
why
think,
don't we have a little mini meeting?
Let me go there. What exactly are you at?
So what I'm asking for is between the 300 units that we know has received approval in West Greenwich. It's a project called, between that, a cannabis facility that has received a special use permit. And then we're using as a planning estimate, 700 additional units that is beyond what you have approval for, but 700 on 6, 7, and 8.
5, 6, 7?
No, I'm 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're looking to incorporate that
Okay.
into the traffic analysis so that we know that the traffic analysis does what we set out, which was give me a really good, thorough analysis of all the growth that's happening in this part of this town at one time.
Mhm.
If you do that, and that's consistent with what our peer review is suggesting. So I know that there have been, and I don't mind that John Shevlin has discussions directly with you guys, but we've got a letter from John Shevlin from last week that tells us add in 700 more units, add in the 300 more units.
So what about the bridge? Are we getting, assume that that's done?
I think that the assumptions, you guys have done some modeling around the bridge.
We
with
assume,
disobedience.
we assume some leaders.
Yeah. I think we're comfortable with the assumptions we did, because that's the best you can do. We don't have hard data on how that connection of Center New England is going to affect traffic, but you guys gave us modeling, which is what we asked, which is the best we can do. I don't mind if you come back with a report and for some reason you feel as though you've added in these projects and that adjusts some of the conservative estimates you've given. I don't mind that, but what I don't want to do is say that they've been conservative in topical areas A, B, and C, but they've missed projects X, Y, and Z, and we're just gonna assume it evens out. I kind of need to see the project.
The master plan, what is it, what are you looking to get out of the study that we're putting together? In other words, we've got 218 residential units.
Yeah.
In a bucket now, as you keep expanding the scope of thousands.
Well, I wouldn't say
So
keep
is it,
expanding. This is what we set out to do.
is it about, if it's about the project, our point is, for master plan level review, we've demonstrated that the roadway system can support that project, and we've included this build out, something that, you know, back on a 333 unit project in West Greenwich, they didn't have to do for your roadway network system, so why?
They have a traffic study.
Not analyzing the
It
future
doesn't
build
include
out.
our project.
Well,
Any
so
of these
I
other
can't
projects.
dictate what West Greenwich is gonna require their
But
traffic.
it's not a topic of not doing it, it's a topic of when we're doing it. We're at a point in time when it makes sense to do a traffic study, especially given a zone change, but not necessarily the additional effort that's gonna require to get you 3 more projects. We've already got 7. And, you know, we're the minimus project at this point in the network of all these speculative projects. We really are, like, with traffic generation.
So
So-
traffic is the number one element that I think is going to be of concern and discussion by both the planning commission and the town council as it relates to any and all approvals. This is the town council's probably their one shot to review a project in this area. I'm not anticipating other zone changes. I've always communicated and felt strongly from the start that we needed this traffic study to give us a really robust build out of all of the anticipated build. And you did. I mean, you gave us 7 projects. I'm just suggesting you've missed 3 and we need those other 3 projects
So,
to come along for the ride.
no problem.
No, that's,
Is there something that's gonna then change the recommendations for this particular project?
You mean for the upcoming meeting next week?
We changed the traffic. study.
Yes.
Is that gonna change your recommendations for this particular,
Yes.
in what way?
Right now, I don't think we've got a traffic study that gives us the ability that does what we set out to do
I know, but is it gonna change your recommendations? for
Yes.
This,
for next week. Yes.
so for the traffic around the intersection, egress, I mean, is it gonna change your vote on this particular plan?
Yes.
Real quick, if anything, if we're adding additional projects, our responsibility goes down.
That's exactly.
So you're
correct.
gonna require less of us as we add these other projects.
We want to understand it.
we
I'm
already
not asking for you to pay more than
We
your
already
fair
have a
share,
small
but we want to
front door.
understand it accurately.
spoken
It's
mitigation.
going to put-
Yeah, it's gonna be less,
We already have,
saying it's gonna be less.
we've already parsed that out. We already understand mitigation improvements relative to this project going in place, correct? Bob, at our front door. We've also demonstrated some projections of mitigation measures that were put into our scope based on the other projects. Those are the items that we're saying, okay, we're not gonna be responsible necessarily for those, but here they are because we have analyzed 7 other.
Yeah.
So we're at a point where there's a connection between our project and what we would do for mitigation. And there's a separation between, okay, other projects come online, here are the things you need to consider.
Most of your offsite mitigation is occurring at the intersection of New London and Harlem. What I'm very curious to learn, based on understanding a complete picture of traffic in the area, is are you doing all of the improvements we need to that intersection or a portion of them? Do you understand what I'm saying? So we could figure out through additional accurate build out, which might have a lot to do with how many units or what kind of traffic intensive development might occur at lot 5, which would have its primary access off of Arnold. We need to know are there other anticipated intersection improvements to Arnold and New London? Or are you making all the improvements that will eventually be needed to complete the build out that exists? Does that make sense to you?
Well, but
It
whatever
does.
ultimately gets built at that other project, it could be, it's in flux, how big that's gonna be, and that's gonna spur the improvements at the
Well,
intersection.
that's why we, and I'm not saying that
This
those.
isn't.
Yeah,
I'm
this
not
is,
saying,
It's not
I'm
mine
asking for
either.
your fair share, but I wanna know if you're making improvements to New London and Arnold. Is that everything we need to do there, or are there gonna be other improvements that may be
Well, they could-
responsible, but we
That
don't have
happens on
enough
every
data?
project though.
Every time
Every
you're on the
project,
road, they do
somebody
have-
else could come in and
Yeah.
have to
Yeah,
augment and increase the previous improvements because of the nature of the
yeah, but
project.
then if the.
But
if
what we
do the
wanna know-
improvements
I
Now,
wanna know.
You won't even get approval for
and
it.
the other one
They're
doesn't.
not.
But I wanna know what we have enough of a sight of right now, which I would say is the project that we've identified, the projects that we were emailing about, several months ago. These are the projects I want you to incorporate into this build out analysis. And that sort of represents, these are the projects that we're gonna use as a planning basis on what intersections will generally need what improvements. And I do agree, there's gray area, but most of the gray area is sort of like Tim's looking at, you might see lot 5 as not being home to any development. You might see lot 5 as being home to 300 units for
Yeah.
commercial.
That wasn't in your original list though either.
It
Just
was.
no, that was not.
I
Because
did,
there-
I did point to
2,
all.
3, and 4 were the pretty obvious catches. I don't disagree at all with your position and as far as what you're trying to accomplish. I actually think it's great for the town and the community. I think a portion of this though is parallel or on the side to this applicant and his project. That's my opinion
Mm.
relative to traffic. There's a responsibility for this application. And then there's something else for the greater good, that's the part I agree with, and I agree with the thought process, but not at
Expense.
the expense of, not just expense meaning dollars, but of holding this project, for lack of a better word, sorry, hostage.
We're not holding the
Or,
project
that's all.
hostage. I do think that if you look at email communication we had, identified the other lots that Tim owns in center of New England as wanting, and I did suggest that the lots that we don't have any approval for, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I said Tim would have the best idea of what's happening out there, but we wanted to incorporate it as part of our build, as part of the no build conditions for traffic. So it's hard when we've got an idea that we know a lot more than 0 development is gonna occur on those other lots. We don't know exactly where, how, and when, but I need a planning estimate.
Well, hold on a second, but when those projects come forward.
Yeah.
And they tip the scales.
Right.
Then they pay their fair share.
Correct.
Towards building another traffic light.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
It
think,
won't be this project that tips the scale.
No, but I need this project but I think what you're missing is that this project has to actually evaluate all of the development that's happening, so that we can make a planning assumption through a peer reviewer that you have actually accommodated all of the development that we foresee in the area, and that what you're seeking to do for physical and traffic improvements represents your fair share. I agree, by adding other development that's not at the table, it reduces your fair share. But I'd rather be accurate and understand it than by going on, we were conservative over here, so we're allowed to ignore projects over here.
okay, so what I suggest is that we can continue to do this.
Yep.
I'm happy. We want to get to a yes next week, and we want to get to the town council. We've been delayed 3 months. Not your fault. You've been delayed 3 months, and I don't really want to get delayed, and I really want to get approval so we can move forward with the site plan and get into construction, which is not easy. We don't know what's gonna happen with the bridge opening and the amount of traffic that will have to happen, so we won't build it all. This is gonna change pretty rapidly.
Yep.
And we agreed with master plan last fall that we were gonna redo our traffic study at preliminary, for that very reason, things were gonna continue to change.
Mm.
So we did the best we could at the time, and guess what? We haven't built a plan,
Mm.
because things take time to get done.
Mm.
So, what I'd like to is your approval next week to go forward with this. And we'll study it. It might take a month. How long will it take, Bob? A couple weeks? A couple weeks. So we'll have it done. Well, we've done plenty of time for preliminary plan, go to preliminary plan, there's two adjustments that we need to make. The Arnold Road will make a preliminary plan.
When's that bridge gonna be open?
It's gonna be.
I'm hearing all this. Oh, yeah, you're saying, you're hearing.
So then we're gonna have to redo the study. at that
No,
point,
and
too,
I
which is-
understand by September, there's a good chance you have your approvals in hand. We understand that. And you've offered modeling for what's gonna happen in lieu of not having. The truth is by September, it's not like we get data right away. I mean, the truth is you probably need to wait,
let things
driver
settle.
behavior changes,
Yep.
then you need to do some periods of observation. I get that. So here's, I think where we stand is, as communicated, we've communicated over the last few weeks that we identified there were some deficiencies with the study. We've been communicating with you guys.
Not many, by the way. We did study all the intersections. We studied the intersection of 95 and London Turnpike. We made recommendations for striping and turning and all that. We've done a lot of offsite work here on the back of this project already. We're happy to go the extra mile with you.
Yeah.
But please don't hang us up another month.
Well, so here's where we stand. So we have been communicative with you on the fact that the project missed certain other projects within its build out. The last email that you got while I was on vacation through planning staff was that we were gonna need, in order to incorporate this analysis into this recommendation for next week's meeting, we were gonna need the revised traffic study today. And today's date was called out specifically because we were describing that we need to ask our peer reviewer to, basically perform a miracle and conduct a peer review of it in a day.
Right.
Then staff would accept that and we would review it all. And then we'd incorporate it into a staff recommendation that would go out the door, basically at the end of Wednesday in 2 days. I'm gonna assume you don't have a revised traffic study ready to give us to.
That was the problem. We didn't really have time to do it justice. We didn't want to rush something out. You asked for something that's gonna take some time. We only had, 5 days, 10 days to tell you around them. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to do it justice. And so, that's why we said, we can't possibly cram it in a week. So,
And we wanted to address his other comments too, because there are other comments. and
Yeah,
we-
the crash stuff too is.
Yeah, and
It-
we've asked the police department, we'll continue to follow up.
I
We
believe
haven't seen
The
it.
Police
crash data, the chief is here. I believe he said that the data is available at the state.
Yeah, VHP is done through the,
We
through the
can't get
state.
that anymore. They
Oh,
cut that
sorry.
down because, we used to be able to do that, which was
Sure.
great.
Yeah.
And, it's just like anything else, somebody's gotta ruin it for everybody else.
There you go.
One of the other
Because the
consultants.
last project I worked on, that's how they got.
I
the
know,
data.
and it was
Gotcha.
so convenient and we used it responsibly and there were other engineering.
Joe, want to take down my email? I'll
Yeah,
help
we
you
can
out.
get you that data pronto as
Yep.
needed.
Oh, great.
BWITT at coventrypd.org. I can help you out with getting that stuff. I'll find
PD, PD,
PD.
that was, and it's B as in Victor.
B,
B is
B
in
as
B,
boy. Yep.
B as in.
This is our new chief.
Yeah,
Oh, nice
nice
to.
to.
Yep.
so look, we've done an awful lot of work here in
Sure.
this project. We really appreciate your vote there. Move this forward and look at traffic as an ongoing thing, not.
That could be a
static work.
condition too, we're gonna
It's
be
not- it's
doing
not
an
static.
additional study.
It's an ongoing thing, and you're gonna have a chance at preliminary planning to say, that land needs to go a little bit farther this way or that way or whatever. So I think our improvements related to this intersection are not static. We're talking over the preliminary plan, and we'll continue to revise the traffic study. We've gone overboard on the traffic study already. We're going to. But we need your support.
I think this is where we stand. We've got a peer review letter that's calling out the same deficiencies that staff are speaking to now. With these deficiencies on the record, staff can't give a positive recommendation. I anticipate that staff's recommendation without the traffic study being where we need it to be is gonna be a recommendation to continue. I don't think that this project is going to receive a negative perspective from planning staff or the planning commission, assuming we get this built into the study and assuming it does what we set out to do. It's difficult to understand exactly what the town council may feel about the project. I can't predict them. I don't have as much experience with land use projects in front of them, but I do want to go in front of them knowing that the planning staff approvals or I'm sorry, the planning staff recommendation, any pending planning commission approval, and any planning commission recommendation has basically got the traffic study to a place that where you can get it in 2 weeks. So if we're 2 weeks away from having the traffic study do all the things we're asking for, then I'd like to get there and have a really rock solid understanding of all those issues, a really rock solid recommendation based on all of that, and be heading into those meetings with that. That's what was our anticipation on this project for months, and that's what we're seeking now.
We're not gonna have that connection road open. either,
We
so-
understand that, but you've done the best modeling you can, and I'm not holding you up
And
till
then I'm gonna
fall.
back off on a lot of these conservative assumptions. I'm gonna go spot on everything that's recommended.
I think
too.
you should do the traffic analysis in your expert opinion, the way it should be done to be accurate.
Yep.
At the end of the day, what I don't want to do is explain to the council that we missed somewhere in the area of perhaps
Oh, we're still
1,000
gonna be
housing
considerate,
units
yeah.
in the region.
Hold on. What about a conditional? That the traffic study is updated and is satisfactory to the planning staff. Keeps us on track. We get to the town council, we don't even know the town council is gonna
Yeah,
approve our
do we-
zoning.
Right, so do we know when the town council is gonna meet? The ordinance is being presented next week, right? The day
The
before
ordinance
your
is
meeting.
being brought forward for a first reading. I believe you're correct.
I think it's the night. before the
July
planning board.
22nd. I believe it's scheduled for a first reading. That's kind of like a non-substantive.
Right, we
reading.
don't even have to be there. It's presented for advertising.
It's made known that this is going to be headed for it. We don't know the date that the council would be. active.
Usually a month from then.
It would be a month, so you'd be looking at, let's say you're late.
They meet once a month?
But sorry, let's say you're looking at late August.
You know,
Do they meet once a month or twice?
No, they meet twice a month, but in the summer, I think that changes a bit, and I'm not sure their schedule. Now, I will say this, I don't think there's a world in which the planning commission recommendation on the project, which is a legislative action that you're seeking at this stage. Staff is gonna recommend that until we get the traffic study buttoned up, in the way that we set out to, that we hold and continue. Now, if we're 2 weeks away, you're in a position where you could have all the information in front of us, staff and peer review of that. Know we've got the accurate traffic study that does what we set out in late August, and then you're off to the council from there. And I think that's a more successful path for the project. One, it's successful because it gives us the information you're seeking. Two, we're not in a position to have to explain to the council how, or the planning commission, how their recommendations based on something that we weren't quite
okay, so
set out to
what
do.
you're suggesting is you don't take it to the planning board next week.
I'm recommending that we have a motion to continue. Now, you guys can present,
Present.
and you can bring all the information. And there's a good chance that the planning commission, and this is a big project. Normally, we have a good relationship with our commission, and normally when planning staff put a positive recommendation, a lot of things are one meeting and done. This is a big project. If we had a positive recommendation, there's no guarantee that this was going to be one meeting in any event. The planning commission might have a diversity of opinions about it. They may have a lot of questions. There's a lot happening in the
They've
planning.
seen the pre-app though.
They have.
And now it's less intense because of the residential.
So we can't guarantee timing, but I can tell you that I feel that when staff have what we need for traffic, we're gonna put a positive recommendation on the table, and we're going to discuss specifically as part of that, what's the fair share for this applicant to be doing as part of the solution to traffic? Now, I don't want to get into it into great degree here, but we have plans on how we're gonna get our fair share from all the other projects, and it may be very different than what's happening here.
But that sounds good. So go to the planning board next week, prepare it out.
Yep.
And they may approve it anyway, subject to something on it.
They have the right to approve it.
But in any event, we're still on track to get it from the town council and.
Not until you get a decision.
Not until you get a
Well,
recommendation.
Planning board again next month.
Yeah,
Right,
there's a good chance that what we're seeking is an updated traffic study consistent with peer review guidance. You get that to us in 2 weeks. We head to August. August's meeting has a staff recommendation based on all the data we have. You get past planning commission in August, you're in front of the town council in September, and that's not a guaranteed timeline. That's just a projection on what I envision.
Okay, you're killing, okay? But we are where we are, okay? So we have no choice.
Mhm.
Bob, What do you think, huh?
No, that's, I mean, it is what it is. He's not budging, so.
But that's okay, because town council, they're taking their time anyway. By the way, this is all Bass Act. We're going through all this work to plan this thing out. Town council could vote our zoning down.
It's
Right.
true.
And we just dropped five.
But that's
I
Rhode Island procedure.
That is, I mean, that is what it is. I mean, essentially, the council to make this kind of legislative action it's a big one. I mean, you know, this is a significant shift.
It's not that big a deal. It's 200 apartments and 50,000 feet of retail. It's not a huge deal.
And it's going from industrial to a less intense use.
It's a better deal for the town.
Yeah.
We don't mind the what you're doing, but still, when that's in front of the council and there's any number of interested parties saying, we need to make sure that this traffic is penciled out.
Okay.
I need to make sure the traffic's
I get
penciled
that.
out.
We'll be on that. We'll be on that.
Yeah.
We're with you. I'm just talking about timing to get so we can move forward.
No, I
Now
get
we're
it.
into September. That sounds like October, December to me.
Well,
And I'm out of breath.
yeah. I
And you know
can't,
what? How about if I just do 100% self-storage? Would you like that? The town like that?
what you're proposing in front of us, I think is fine from a land use perspective, but we've always talked about for months that we need to have a really strong traffic report.
We're with you.
Yeah.
We're over that.
We thought we had it.
Is there
Yeah,
anything else?
I think you guys thought you had it.
Yeah.
We've been communicating for the past few weeks that we
Okay.
don't have it.
Okay.
That's where we stand.
There was never a list with 10 projects done,
What,
never once.
hold on a
10
second.
projects done.
We'll be on
You have to help us out with that.
I got one more question.
Well, I mean, what
That
I
just started growing and growing and
We
growing.
just got John's comments today too.
And
John's comments came to us on Thursday. When I asked for the list of projects to include in the analysis, I did indicate I wanted the less branded projects added, but they're not.
Okay. All right, so Doug.
Wait, he's very affable. Like,
He is
he's
great.
enjoyable.
Okay.
I really do. I mean,
DPW.
I think, Tim, I think you have the best interest of the town in mind, and we think your projects are good. We just need the good data to back it up.
Okay, DPW says, concrete sidewalks to extend through AP lots 1 and 2. Where are those?
Yeah, where-
You want to, it's
Yeah, here.
basically, if you look at that map.
I'll
keep
give
right
you,
there. Oh, you want-
no, let me just give you JS, I'll show you.
This is the two double,
So-
single family homes down there on the left.
Before you even pull this up, I'm just gonna ask a simple question. Why not Willow Lakes? Why are we going off-site at 2 lots when they've got the next driveway over? Like, why is that?
They're
an ask of
building.
Tim, right?
So if you're asking me that question, as sort of like a fair
Just to get
share.
a general.
So
Well,
Willow
that's
Lakes is
fine.
making the improvements to their property, their frontage, right? And you're asking, why are they not doing offsite? When Willow Lakes was getting their decision, this project wasn't even in front of us. This project did not exist at the time Willow Lakes was getting a condition of approval and giving us a bond to make sidewalk improvements in front of theirs. Now, you guys are being asked to make basically the equivalent length of improvement for the full frontages of your lot. We're shifting some of it from your subject property
This
to be an
way,
offsite mitigation.
Oh, so you're taking away
You're
that.
taking, you're not,
Yeah,
we're
we're saying
saying you
instead
don't
of-
have to improve.
instead of
Yeah,
building
but
beyond
we
here
didn't
to put
propose
there.
that because there's no sidewalks on a road.
Yeah.
Where's that sidewalk gonna go? We
That's
stopped at the driveway. I
Yeah,
don't know if you
and
saw
so
that
what we're
on the plan.
saying is, we're not anticipating.
Your peer
You
review,
build on Arnold.
traffic
We're-
report said the full frontages, is what we were talking about.
Oh, I'm reading the DPW going that way.
Yeah, they're
yeah.
saying, and they're saying,
That
complete
is
that link.
unusual for any applicant
I've
to have to
never-
do.
You
I
did-
mean, you know, I'm the solicitor in Cumberland and somebody the planning department tried to do that to a developer. And we said, no, you cannot do that. You cannot have a developer make improvements to other people's frontage.
We're allowing you the equivalent length of relaxation on your own subject property. To
But
build
they
it in a
weren't, they
much
weren't
more
proposing
valuable.
that. They weren't proposing that.
Well, your traffic study said one.
No, correct.
We'll do it if we can get the easements.
It's clear on the plan. It's on the plans. The improvement is
Your
shown
road,
on our plan.
it's in the public way, right away.
It is?
The sidewalk should be in the public right of way, yes.
Yeah.
It's not gonna, you're not taking land.
Can we go to another subject?
Yeah.
What is going on with the sewer line and new line? Do we have capacity for all these projects? You know, you're killing me. We need-
Unfortunately, I'm not here to fix the sewer system from where it is today to where it needs to be for all of the growth, including this project. That's- the
When will we
study
have
is-
that?
We have a study that indicates we don't have capacity.
For how many? Like, is the first guy in okay? Guy or
No.
girl type of thing? Like,
No.
what's the,
If we were
what-
playing first one in, first one out, then this project probably would be saying that it doesn't get sewer. We're not playing it that way.
along with everybody else that's supposedly ready to go into
Yeah.
CNE?
We,
How's that though?
once we reached a point where we knew that there was a legitimate question as to whether this sewer system would have capacity for all the foreseen development, and we've known about your work coming for about a year. I mean, you've kind of indicated in the pre-app, there's a lot of work coming, you know, and so we've known, and we've had obviously other improvements. West drainage projects, east drainage projects, some of those came in before you. All of those projects were contingent upon sewer capacity analysis has to prove out that it can do what it needs to do for all of the development. Now, where we stand is that we do have an assessment from our consultant that the system, and we're talking about the New London Turnpike line. It's a distribution system. It's not about the treatment facility and it's not about the Center of New England private infrastructure. That line does not have capacity. We know we have a capital project we're going to need, and the town's going to find the resources to study that. We're going to find out what the capital project's going to be. And instead of saying who gets in first, who doesn't, and picking winners and losers, we're going to approach that all the development that is at some stage of review right now is going to end up with conditions of approval on some sort of fair share approach. Now, I don't want to get into the details of that because that is a bigger, broader town effort. There might be financing districts. There might be a different range of tools we use, but instead of saying winners and losers, we're saying everyone's going to pay for the project. The project may be something that can be done with alternate flow, a holding tank. There might be versions of this project that isn't just redigging up that whole line. But that needs some study. What's the cheapest way to give everyone the sewer capacity? I think we all agree, this is an area where Coventry is seeing that we're welcoming the growth. All the projects, even the newer projects such as this one, and we're trying to find the capacity for all that growth. And it is going to take a capital project. We just don't know what it is, and we're going to study it. We're looking to get that study started within about a.
I have a question, just in your study, I think you need to look at who has paid assessments already, because think about it, even the single family homes probably paid assessments for the original sewer installation. I would consider that everybody on the sewer line takes a hit, because if everybody already paid assessments, they're entitled to use the sewer line as much as anybody else that sewer line passes. So I'm not asking for a response.
No,
I'm
no.
just saying
And
that if everybody paid their fair share at the assessment and it wasn't designed properly, then the entire sewer district should be contributing.
this is a unique situation where we have a greater amount of growth than we would have ever anticipated in this particular pocket of the community, all happening right at once. I don't think we anticipated this much density, this much growth, all happening right here. It's not a bad thing if you have projects that you are looking to develop and you want to know that, you know, there's a lot of housing to support commercial uses here. But if you were to ask 3 years ago whether we thought that we would be beyond the capacity of that sewer line, we probably would have said that's not really a big question. The last 3 years have brought a number of projects that have caused us to question that. And the questions were legitimate. All of the projects are going to be just over the top of the capacity. It's not like double the capacity, but we're somewhere in the 10 to 20%. I mean, that's a rough planning estimate right now. I don't know, Joe, if you think that we're 10 to 20% over the system capacity is a decent, and these things come with buffers. I mean, it's not like we have an exact number and then we, you know, like there's safe buffers that we use. We have a study and it's in a draft format. I'm happy to share it. The real important piece is that the study categorically has been able to describe that all of the development that we're anticipating, including using as a planning estimate, 700 units for lots 5, 6, 7, and 8, that we're not gonna have capacity for all of that. And instead of playing winners and losers, your project's last in, so you're paying for everything. We're playing everyone
But
that's
that's
got
what,
their.
that's what the connection fees are for.
Right.
Those are ostensibly
No.
for CapEx.
Well, no, the assessments, that's why I said it's really important for the town to understand who's already paid an assessment for those sewer lines, because I think this is a town issue, not a recent developer proposal this year.
Well, we may agree.
I'm
with
just
this.
asking you to
Yeah.
consider it. I'm
No,
not
I
asking
understand.
for a response.
And I mean, all of this is obviously, this is a piece of it's relevant to your project, but this is a bigger, broader process that's, you know, it's, some of this is tangential to your project. We're just trying to give you information.
To confirm, we're on the hook for $6,000 or whatever it is, the connection fees for sending money, some number. Right? 700 units are approved, that's 4 million too. That's really for CapEx for the sewer system, is it not?
You're asking for the assessments?
I'm asking for the connection fees. Everybody's
Connection
paying,
fees.
everybody in here is paying a connection.
That's
fee.
different than the assessment.
So you're saying the connection fees should cover the capital project of the sewer?
Where else is it going?
I don't know if that adds up. I mean, the capital project we have for sewer, I don't think can be accomplished with just connection fees. I don't think that's at a difference.
So you're gonna do a bond issue. And you're gonna recoup it off the back of everybody who's paying a connection fee.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's what's gonna happen there. But if you're telling me we're shut down, Doug, then tell me now.
shut down for what?
Well, if you tell me there's no future for a sewer line connection on New London Turnpike, tell me right now, and I will close this whole thing.
No, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you is that we have a capital project in order to get all of the projects that are seeking approvals or have approvals and are working their way through the permitting process. We're gonna have a capital project to ensure they all have sewer.
Good idea.
And what we don't have is the cost of that project.
Okay.
And we don't have is the mechanism upon which we're gonna fund it, but that's something we're studying. But until we have that, we're not offering sewer approvals for these range of projects.
So we're dead.
Is that fair?
Look, you just said, everything on New London Turnpike is dead right now. That's what you just said.
I don't think that that's what I just said.
But that's the practicality. I can't get a permit right now. Lot 6.
You can't
Lot
get
6,
a,
wait,
you can't get a
lot
sewer approval right now.
Lot
that's true.
6, next to Walmart. I cannot get approval for that right now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. You couldn't get a sewer application approval. You could get a land use approval. And as I
So I
told
can't,
you,
when can you tell me I can get a connection for a sewer on lot 6? I wanna do a Dunkin' Donuts. When can I get a sewer approval?
you're asking me to tell you when you're gonna get an answer on lot
6 right there.
Next to Walmart.
as to whether, when you're gonna get, how your sewer connection will be approved and reviewed. We'll have a better idea that after this immediate study that we're looking to start in 1 month. I can tell you that this is a time where the infrastructure isn't gonna support it. There was not a world in which it made sense for us just to be handing out sewer approvals. If we did, we would have given more approvals than what the system can manage, and that would not be a good place.
Okay.
I'm telling you that, you know, we started this initial sewer study to identify the capacity. We started it in November, Joe? About November, and it took this long to get a firm answer based on everything we're expecting that the system doesn't have capacity. We're immediately initiating another study.
Yeah.
Through town resources to understand, well, what is the capital project look like?
Yeah.
To give everyone capacity. We're studying it as quickly as we can. But if you're kind of like, I need to have an answer yesterday, I mean, these things don't just have answers. These are big infrastructure.
I'm sympathetic. I'm totally sympathetic. I'm with you. I'm supporting anything I can. But what you're telling me is that we could be here a year from now without a sewer permit for lot 6.
I don't think you can say for sure, you know, it's.
So you're
We
literally,
can't give
you
an
can't
answer.
give any permits, not even one for a Dunkin' Donuts. You're
Yeah.
not giving any out.
Well, that helps our traffic study out.
It's,
Yeah.
We don't have any projects that can be
There's
built, so we're good, we're
nothing.
good, zero.
The idea is that, I think, the town, imagine the same study we need to do on sewer, we're gonna do on transportation infrastructure. We're gonna understand all of the issues as it relates to transportation.
Well, he's
infrastructure.
doing it all now. Now
You're helping, but we also need to understand, you're not scoping out the costs of other offsite improvements. We're not asking you to scope out the cost of improving other intersections that you're not doing work on. The town will do that, but there's gonna need to be a fair share approach to doing that. And we're gonna have a legal component as part of all of this to ensure that what we're doing is legally sound.
Sure.
And reacting to this development, it's the development that's bringing the idea that that's why our intersections and our
Sure.
sewer is gonna not work. And that there's a capacity limitation.
What about the Arnold Road system? So you're opening up this is whole new project in New London Turnpike. Yeah, from what I understand, there's about pipelines and half of a sewer system. I forget the watershed. That the pipes are in the ground, but there's no pump station for them to go to.
They don't connect.
They don't connect. So,
There's a future pump station that's required.
so how can we expect that there's gonna be a substantial effort on New London Turnpike when one project's not even finished already?
It's residential,
Yeah.
Arnold. It was never intended to tie in
Okay,
commercial into.
okay,
And in our facilities plan, that area is slated to be 1 and 2. We just haven't started the projects. But right now, this is our priority, this New London line is very old. And when it was constructed, it didn't have the vision to handle anywhere near the capacity that it's seeing right now. So that's why we are, I'm the one who pushed for the study to get done. I didn't want you guys to be ready to come online and people can't flush their toilets. Then where are we? So,
well,
you know, I don't wanna put the
23 and
car-
24 couldn't have, like, if theoretically, would that have been part of the Arnold system, or could it have been? Since
no,
it's fronted
because
on
the
Arnold?
line doesn't connect you cannot get from New London up to Tioga. It doesn't, the line is not continuous.
No, but okay, so the line that's on Arnold now, that's not connected,
Right.
where will that be
That's
connected to?
That's gonna go to a pump station.
Yep.
At Sandy Beach,
Okay.
over at the Briar Point. And then there's gonna be a force main that takes it to the Sandy Bottom pump station. It'll go from there up
Yeah,
that way.
in this one specific situation, all I'm asking is, if that project were to move forward, could the corner parcel go down Arnold Road instead as a tie-in to that system?
See,
Just because of where it's situated.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I know you guys don't wanna hear this, but it was never looked at, so it has to be studied.
Okay.
This
We're in the
is
same
not.
spot with both.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
all these different, you were talking about going up Hopkins Hill, going to that way. Well, that creates problems because that eventually ties into the gravity line on Tioga. So there are planning areas near the high school that will use that line to bring the flow down to Sandy Bottom. So we would have to look at, do we have extra capacity in that line? If we bring your flow through there, are we taking other projects offline in the future? There's just a big picture that needs to be looked at. Unfortunately, I wish it was easy, but it's not.
We feel your pain, we're
Yeah.
behind you 100%. We'll
Thank you.
support you, okay? Hopkins Hill doesn't have a problem, right?
With capacity?
Yeah.
It need to be studied. And I mean, so here's my recommendation. We had some emails with Josh wanting to evaluate that. And a request for a meeting just last week, and I was out of town. I was reading some of the emails and we agreed, Joe and I looked at it, it's like, let's sit down with them, let's talk about that. But we're way beyond the scope of this project at a TRC meeting on land use issues. Generally, the sewer issues is helpful to you, but it's not something we're gonna tie to these immediate land use decisions. So what I'd like to do is close TRC. And we're happy to continue the dialogue with you on general sewer strategy. Because it isn't a one size fits all, but there are certain challenges any way you go. And so to have that conversation, it's probably looking less and less like how do we tie that to a TRC record? It's looking more and more like, let's talk about it.
And I have a hard stop at 3, so we can adjourn that.
Yeah. Fair enough. Any other questions or comments from TRC members before we close the meeting?
Yeah, I just wanna,
What's the-
I know, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
TRC members, but for him, we're going to the meeting next week.
correct.
You are generally supportive of this,
Yeah.
and perhaps there's a continuance, but we're gonna present. And then we'll get you the further traffic study.
Yep.
And then again, we gotta work on Steve to get the zone change in front of the council.
Yep.
It's gotta be advertised.
Yep.
In only 3 weeks, and then we can get before the council.
Yep.
I'd like, if we can, for the master plan approval to happen at the following meeting, so that the very next meeting at the council we can be at.
And I think that's
Give us
why,
that.
yeah, I think that's why it's good to present next week.
Yeah,
I can't guarantee timing. That, you know, you're asked, you know, like my board, I can give you a sense that I think my board does think this is a good project.
Yeah,
But if they have questions, if there's other issues we're not bringing up, that it's a good chance to get ahead of that.
Yep.
To talk with them
Yeah.
about that, to get them in line. And then the traffic, I do recommend, I mean, you, by all means, you can make a presentation, and the board has the right to make any decision they want. We'll be in front of you, we'll be in front of the board with a hearing. They have the right to make the decision. Staff is gonna recommend to continue until we get the traffic study. If we're 2 weeks away from having that, then I anticipate we've got a comfortable balance between being able to get that. I generally like to be able to have that traffic study, and that's a significant technical piece. I'd love to have it in front of my TRC. But there are critical TRC members that I can pull in and get their feedback after peer review and button that up so that we're heading into the August meeting with firm information in hand. And at August, that's the commission's ultimate decision. But I think that if they feel comfortable and staff feel comfortable, I think there's a good chance that August, there may be a positive vote on this project.
and that'll be the 27th.
That sounds great. That sounds great. It would ever be like the fourth Wednesday.
It's not the last, it's the fourth,
It's the fourth Wednesday.
Well, and then we're into,
September,
September, October for,
the council.
council for the zoning. And that's fine, because we have a zoning sewer moratorium for another year.
And but I mean, we do have some cleanup on the ordinance we need to do, and that may take a little bit from them.
Yeah, we get time.
No,
I'm sorry, cut and run.
No, that's fine.
We adjourned?
I know, are there any other comments from TRC members on this item?
No.
With that being said, I will consider this meeting of the TRC adjourned. Feel free to close.
That's free to go.
Thank you. 8:02.
Yeah, I will.